Hello, this is Nintendo Deep Dive, and welcome to part 2 of my Wii Games Show and Tell. So, just getting right back into it. In June of 2009, we got Halo 3. No, not Halo 3. Let's Tap for the Wii. A very absurd game where you tap on a cardboard box and the Wii remote would pick it up and you could jump and run with differing degrees of tapping. I have not played this game. I really want to. I have it in an Xbox 360 case, which looks a little ugly, I know, but yeah, let's tap. And after that, we had Ghostbusters come out in June of 2009. I cannot find my copy of it. It's in the pile, no doubt, but I cannot find it at the moment. So after Ghostbusters came out, we got Overlord Dark Legend right here. This is a spin-off of a PC game where you are the bad guy. And I don't know how that game plays, but in this game, you essentially are playing somewhat of a Pikmin game where you use the reticle to send out goblins to do your bidding, and you are a player character yourself, the bad guy here. But you're mostly doing what you're doing with your minions. And that concept sounds super, super cool to me, personally. Here's a oh, here's a picture of the minions. If I can find it. Yeah. And they all have their own things going on. I'm really excited to play that game. And after Overlord, Dark Legend came out. And by after, I mean on the exact same day, we had the Conduit come out. Oh boy, and I can't find the Conduit either. Anyway. So, after the Conduit came out, we got in July Little King's Story. And I was saying that Overlord is very much like Pikmin, but as a matter of fact, Little King's Story is much more like Pikmin, where you are a king in a top-down setting, and you grab a bunch of villagers and they go on adventures with you. And this is considered maybe one of the best, or no, is one of the best third-party games out there. I haven't played it. I very much look forward to playing it. So, yeah, Little King's Story. And after Little King's Story, we got the magnum opus of Nintendo Wii titles, like the brand Wii, and that being Wii Sports Resort. Super, super fun game. So much content packed in, so much personality. And there's just a real sense of place in this game that is essentially a collection of mini games, though each mini game having lots of content tied to it. Yeah. Really, really enjoy this game. My favorite is sword fighting and flying, which we got flying there and sword fighting here. And after Wii Sports Resort in September, we had Mini Ninjas, which is developed by the Hitman crew over at Eidos. This is a very, very interesting game, particularly the visuals, in that they're very almost watercolor-like. And they actually look better on the Wii because they just mix well with decreased lighting. And the softness of the image is no problem because the art style itself is quite soft. I think it's a game for kids, but it's actually very well designed. It's like an action adventure platformer. Not dissimilar to Zelda, but a little different still. And after that, keeping in line with ninjas, we got Muramasa, the Demon Blade. I believe this was done by Vanillaware. Ah, yes, right there, Vanillaware. And this game, first thing that should jump out of you is its art style, its hand-drawn graphics. Very, very nice. It's essentially a side-scroller beat 'em up for the most part, with beautiful, beautiful graphics. Haven't played it yet, but I certainly will put it on my to-do list. Very excited for that one. And after that, we got Spyborgs, which is a co-op beat 'em up game, which I see it, but I can't reach it. So we're gonna skip over that one. Looks really good. It's developed by Capcom. Maybe I just need to grab it here. Just give me a moment. So here it is. Spyborg Ninjas. Or Spyborgs. Haven't played it, but it looks really nice graphically and cooperatively. It looks like it will be a lot of fun. and that came out in September. And after Spyborgs, we got Dead Space Extraction, which is a light gun spin-off of the Dead Space series. Graphically, it looks really good on the Wii, and it controls really well as well. And this is considered a hidden gem. In fact, it's also developed by Visceral Games, so it wasn't really farmed out. And you get to use all the cutting tools that you had in the first game to dismember the necromorphs, or whatever they're called. Doesn't say. So yeah, that came out in September. As you might be noticing, a lot of third-party exclusives and just multiplats were coming out on the Wii in 2009. It's a good year for that. And then after Dead Space, in October, we got A Boy and His Blob, which is a remake of an NES game done by, I think it was done by WayForward, with hand-drawn art. It looks really good. I'm like, once you do something with hand-drawn art, it really is going to be more or less timeless. Here's some of the shapes the blob can make. It's kind of a exploration puzzle platformer, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, really a well-liked game on the Wii. And after A Boy and His Blob, we got, in that same month, actually no, in November, we got Rabbids Go Home, sitting in a Arkham City Armored Edition case. But Rabbids Go Home, focusing on this, very surprising title, probably a hidden gem. Whether or not it is, it's irrelevant. It's a great game. It's similar to Katamari Damacy in that you're collecting things, though the manner in which you collect them is very different. It's vaguely similar, I guess. And you have to collect stuff in a level, essentially a platforming level, and it's essentially a platforming game of sorts, to pile it onto one big pile to reach the moon. You know, where the rabbits believe they're from. So yeah, it's Rabbids Go Home, hence the title. And the game had an interesting soundtrack in that much of it was taken after, or taken directly from, Romanian folk music, which features a lot of brass, trumpets, and tubas, and some of it's cacophonous, which is very fitting for the Rabbids, while others is very touching and very stirring, and very beautiful. So the game overall, though, fantastic. Has a great ending, and there's a lot of overtures throughout the game, thematic overtures that are very interesting for a game about rabbits. And after that, though, still in November of 2009, we got an exclusive Need for Speed game for the Wii, Need for Speed Nitro. The game features essentially cel shaded graphics, if I'm not mistaken, and uses the Wii remote on its side to steer, though also apparently just a standard GameCube as well. And it's the best Need for Speed on the Wii, being developed ground up for it. And it's just a good stripped down arcade racer from what I've heard. I'm looking forward to playing that. Again, the Wii did not have a lot of racers. Not a lot of good ones, anyway. After that, we got Shaun White Snowboarding World Stage. This may be the second game of 2 Shaun White games, and it's supposed to be a very good snowboarding game, the best snowboarding game on the Wii, either of them. I don't actually know a single thing about it, but it's supposed to be very good. Pile's looking a little crooked. And after Shaun White, this wasn't the first Call of Duty game on the Wii, but it was the first good one, the first one developed for it, and that is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which was a game that was released about 2 years before 2009. And it's kickstarted Call of Duty's domination of the first-person shooter market. But this game, it's kind of its own thing. Not as graphically good as Modern Warfare on the Xbox 360, but the IR aiming is why I picked it up, and it's supposed to be very good in Reflex Edition. And that came out November of 2009. And after that, just a day after in November, we got new Super Mario Brothers Wii, which was already a phenomenon on the DS. And when it came to the Switch with 4-player multiplayer, it did even better. This is not my favorite Mario game by any stretch, but you have to admit, this is some beautiful box art and manual art and disc art. Even have a shiny Wii logo. Yeah, it was a big deal when it came out, and it did very well. And I think that would do it for 2009. So in 2010, first game we got in January was Skycrawlers Innocent Aces, which is a aerial combat game where you fly around in World War II planes. Essentially, World War II planes, though some of them are their own thing, certainly, based off of an anime of some kind. And the game's pretty cool because its controls are based off of using a flight stick to either steer or ascend or descend, as I understand it. And yeah, it's a game I picked up because Star Fox esque games, including Rogue Squadron, weren't on the Wii in large part, and this is a good representation of that, and it's supposed to be quite good. And after Skycrawlers Innocent Aces, still in January, we got the sequel to No More Heroes. No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle, which is considered better than the first game by many people. I'm not one of those people, but I played it through and I did really enjoy it. I especially enjoyed the jobs that you played in this game, the menial jobs that took the form of 8-bit NES style games. And they were a lot of fun. I particularly liked the one based on Mach Rider, loosely based anyway, where you're delivering pizzas. And in this game, you have different beam katanas. The dual one's a big feature, and there's also like a two-handed one. It's a more polished game than the first one. It's very good. After No More Heroes came a game that I know is at the bottom of my stack called Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, which we'll have to find later. But after Tatsunoko vs. Capcom came out, and that was also in January, in March we got Disney Alice in Wonderland, inspired by the Tim Burton film. Now, this game was essentially a licensed game, or, it is a licensed game based off of a movie. But it was developed by, I believe it was developed by Disney Interactive, like the guys who were doing Epic Mickey or something like that. And so this was developed by Disney's own studio, video game studio. And it's cooperative. It's a 3D platformer. It's supposed to be very, very beautiful. Maybe I can get some of the images on there. Supposed to be very beautiful. It's essentially, or it is, an exclusive for the Wii. And yeah, the art style is really nice with nice saturated colors. And the movie, apparently it's better than the movie it's inspired by. And after Alice in Wonderland, we got Red Steel 2, released in March of 2010. This is the quintessential Wii game as far as motion controls go. When the Wii came out, it was essentially, well, the promise of the Wii was essentially to be able to swing your sword in a game like it was a sword rather than mash a button using the Wii remote. And there were a few games that did deliver on this promise, such as Wii Sports Resort and Skyward Sword. But this game, it built a sword fighting experience on the grounds of that, going much farther than just simple gestures, actually having moves and combos and hidden skills. And it's very, very fun. It also combines those gesture based movements with IR camera aiming, as you have a gun, as seen here, and you can just pull that gun out whenever you like. And you get other guns too, such as machine guns and shotguns. And the game is beautiful besides, with a nice cel shaded art style. And it's a sequel to Red Steel almost in name only, and is just a much better game, and it's a must have on the Wii. And after Red Steel came out, sometime later in April, we got Monster Hunter Tri, developed by Capcom. The Monster Hunter series is all about hunting monsters. And for this game, they added the ability to hunt monsters in the water. So our main monster, the main featured one anyway, is the Lagiacrus, who is a Leviathan type dragon, and he looks really, really cool. Actually, he's one of my favorite monster designs in Monster Hunter. I haven't played this version. I played Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, but I'm sure I would really enjoy this version as much as I did 3 Ultimate. And after Monster Hunter, we got this game I've never heard of, but I bought it on the promise that I'd be flying vehicles around with the Wii remote, like I was in Wii Sports Resort, and that is Kid Adventures Sky Captain. And yeah, there's lots of flying in here and other vehicles. I'm a little concerned that the game might be too kiddie for me, but I didn't pay too much for it anyway, and apparently it reviewed well enough. So yeah. And after that, which came out in May of 2010, we got Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands. Now, this game, while a multiplat, is a multiplat in name only, as it's built from the ground up for the Wii rather than being based off the other versions. And it's actually considered, or I believe it's considered, the best of the three versions, being more reminiscent of Sands of Time than Prince of Persia 08. I haven't played it, but it looks like it has lots of puzzles and cool platforming. So, it's supposed to be a very good game and the best version of Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. And after that, still in May, we got a sequel to Mario Galaxy, simply titled Number 2. This one introduced Yoshi and the Cloud suit, as seen here. And a bunch of Yoshi powers, and it's just a continuation of Super Mario Galaxy 2, or Super Mario Galaxy. Though there are some differences in its overall core design. Very enjoyable game, and I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the first one, but Nintendo developers are showing off for sure. After Super Mario Galaxy 2, in June we got Sin and Punishment Star Successor, which is one of the best examples of a game using IR aiming. Really good box art, or disc art, and really good box art too. Thick pamphlet. Very nice. It's a sequel to Sin and Punishment on the 64, the Nintendo 64 to be more precise, but its connections are tenuous. Otherwise, it's an arcade shooter where you fly around and shoot things. And with the IR aiming, it's funner than ever. I suppose in the first game you didn't fly around, so it's an on-rail shooter with flight involved, and the best part of this game is hitting a physical projectile rather than an energy projectile. And when you hit the physical projectile with your sword, you can throw it back at the thing that shot it if you've aimed it properly, which is always a fun time. I don't know what Star Successor is, and I don't know why it's called Sin and Punishment. But it was definitely a surprise sequel for a game that we never got in the West. And here is that Ghostbusters game, which I could not find. I'll put it in its proper place later. And after Sin and Punishment, we got Metroid Other M, though I also found The Conduit, which was a game I couldn't find before. Again, I'll put it in the pile. This is a very cool game because it allows you to customize your Wii controls as you like. And it's a first person shooter, so it can be a little tricky to get the Wii remote IR aiming down the way you want it, but this game lets you customize it to your heart's content. And graphically, it's actually very good looking for a Wii game, though for a first person shooter, it's a bit middling in lots of ways. Though according to IGN, it's the best shooting game on the Wii. I'll put that in its place later. But here is Metroid Other M, which is not everybody's favorite game in the Metroid fan base. Came out in August of 2010 and probably very hyped up, but it has since been poorly viewed since its release. I actually will defend this game in a lot of its decisions. I won't defend its poor story, its poor storytelling, to be more specific. I actually think the main story, the plot points are fine, but yeah, the storytelling's bad. But this game, I really like the dichotomous gameplay between aiming in first person and running around in third person / second person. Or it's not second person, it's 2D. But it's a game I really enjoy, despite a few problems. Some very big problems, to be sure, but there's only a few of them, and the gameplay is very solid. Though hard to come to terms with, I will admit, initially. Game looks beautiful too, for a Wii game, and just in general. And after Metroid Other M came out in September, we got the Batman, or just Batman, the Brave and the Bold video game. I believe it was based off of an animated show or comic. And the game is a hand-drawn title similar to the cartoon it's based off of. It's a beat 'em up, supposed to be very enjoyable, and it was in fact developed by Way Forward. So, yeah. It's supposed to be quite good. And there was a DS game, but this is the better of the two. And I think we're going to call it there for part 2 of the Wii Show and Tell. And we'll finish everything up in part 3, of course. So, thank you for watching, and please continue on into part 3.